The German occupation, though relatively brief, has created something of a tourist haven. During the early 20th century, the city was split into European, Chinese and business quarters. And to this day, strolling the streets of the European concession is a real eye-opener. On the south slope of the Signal Hill, we chance upon a massive German villa. The magnificently built mansion is the former residence of the German governor. The entire estate covers 26,000 square meters, and it's undoubtedly one of the most impressive structures in the city, akin to a huge castle-like palace with spiral staircases, Tudor-style beams, vaulted ceilings, and stucco balconies. There was no extravagance spared in its construction, with much of the materials shipped in from Europe. In many ways, it reminds me of the stately homes that you can find dotted around the United Kingdom, with their large entrance halls, lavish paintings and opulent decorations. Used by Mao Zedong in 1958, which is incidentally why it wasn't damaged during the Cultural Revolution, like many of the other foreign buildings were, the mansion is now a hotel come museum. You can take a look at the very room used by the chairman, which has been left exactly as he liked it, with hard mattresses, soft couches, and lots of spittoons. These days, you'll also be able to find different exhibitions that take place in the gazebo, such as a photographic history of Qingdao, which was on when we were there. So, picture this. It's the turn of the 20th century and you're the recently appointed governor of Qingdao, all the way from Germany. You also have a bottomless expense account. What do? Well, you build an extravagant house, like the governor did. Unfortunately for him, the bill went straight to the Kaiser Wilhelm II of almost 2.5 million tiles of silver. The governor was promptly sent back to Germany and sacked, but we get to see the remains. Right, let's see what almost 2.5 million tiles of silver can get you in 1903. And one of the main questions I'm sure you're wondering is, how many rooms in this whole building? Well, 30 big rooms. And some of the few facts that I learned here, if you have a quick look, that is probably just a normal fireplace to you, but adding in the fact that there are 30 rooms, each fireplace in each room is completely different. Let's have a look around. And all of these chandeliers up here, if you have a quick look, all of these chandeliers up here are all different as well, and they still remain. They're exactly how they were. Obviously the light bulbs have been changed, but they're exactly the same as they were 100 years ago. And we've got some great views on the outside. I almost feel like an estate agent right now. This is the former governor's bedroom, and you can see over there is a single bed. And these would have been the inhabitants of the bedroom. I assume that must be the governor. And that's the tour of the house. Each of the different rooms has a distinct style. But all in all, the moral of the story when it comes to this fantastic tourist spot is that expense accounts are never bottomless. But the governor really should be commended for his vision that lost him his job. As if the Ying Bingwan, as it's known in Chinese, doesn't have it all, you just need to walk outside a few yards and you'll be greeted by breathtaking views from the hilltop. So at the very end of the 19th century, Qingdao was ceded to the Germans after their leader, Kaiser Wilhelm, had kept his eye on it as he thought it would be a strategic location for them in the east. Now, they were only here for around 15 years, but the mark that they made then can still be very seen now, as you can see with the building behind us. Whilst you're in the mood for strolling, there's no better place than in and around Badaguan, whatever the weather. It literally means 8 passes. Famous for its tree-lined streets, gardens and European architecture, it lies in the east of Qingdao, with the Taiping Mountain on the one side and the Yellow Sea on the other. Right by the number 2 beach, in fact. For anyone who's into leafy suburbs, this part of Qingdao is a real treat. Each street is lined with a single type of tree or flower, which is how the locals recognize which street they're on. In fact, the proud locals often say that anyone who comes to Badaguan will never lose their way because the flowers and trees are the best possible guides. Badaguan is basically a conglomeration of several crisscrossing roads. The 8 roads are all named after 8 strategic passes on the Great Wall in and around Beijing. You'll definitely get a gentle, quiet suburban feel as you pass the 100 or so Western villas on display here. With its proximity to the ocean and its all-year-round sea breeze, it's easy to see why this area is chosen by so many affluent people as their home. There's a particularly high concentration of holiday houses here as well. So why not come in the summer and rent yourself a historic villa? You could say that it's a great area in all seasons, with its fragrant smells and shade from the trees, keeping everything dry and cool, whether it's raining or it's sunny. Next to the 8 passes and slightly east of the beach, you'll find a giant outcrop of rock with a Russian-style villa built on top. Due to the type of stone used to build the villa, the locals have given it the nickname Hua Shilou, which means colourful rock building. It's a 5-story structure of stone and marble, with a large turret at the top to add to the Gothic feel. Originally the home of a Russian aristocrat, this top-class piece of real estate, dating from 1932, combines an interesting mix of Greek, Roman and Gothic influences. There's also the added fact that the inside is filled with Chinese furniture within rooms that are distinctly European.
It's not too pleasant out there, but I've got a feeling I'll be able to have a better view of Qingdao from above.
Well, the rain may dampen our clothes, but not our spirits. Let's see if we can find the secret passage that leads out directly from the house to the seashore. Or so I'm told.
So, like any place on Earth, or most places on Earth, Qingdao unfortunately is not averse to the odd downpour and heavy wind like we've got today. That said, it does teach you when travelling to always be prepared, and in this case, reminds you of where Qingdao used to be as a tiny little fishing village, and they'd have to put up with diverse weather like this going out to get their food just for sustenance.
Something you will really appreciate from up here is how even on good days, the waves come crashing down far more powerfully on the east coast than they ever do on the south. Which begs the question, would you have been man enough to go out on days like this? Even if your livelihood depended on it, like it did for the fishermen in the 19th century. But it's not all about hanging out by the beach when you're in Qingdao. There's so much fun to be had taking in the culture of this fascinating city. For example, you can make your way over to the restored Tianhou Temple. It's a 20-minute walk eastward from Badaguan and is dedicated to the heavenly queen, Tianhou. Actually, the temple also moonlights as the Qingdao Folk Museum. You can take as active a role as you want here, but when you go through the doorway, just remember the Chinese saying, 南走女有, meaning left foot first for a man and right foot first for a woman. So Tianhou Temple was built over 500 years ago, which means that it actually predates Qingdao city itself. And a lot of the cultural relics are still available for you to see here. I've managed to find myself a relatively dry spot as it's just started raining, but I don't really feel like I'm absorbing any of the culture. So I'm going to see if I can make a break for it into the main temple area. Well, can't always plan for the best weather on holiday, and I've obviously planned very badly traveling today. However, I think it's quite apt that we've arrived at the Tianhou Temple in Qingdao, which is primarily dedicated to the goddess of the sea, Mazu, who would look after the sailors out on the coast. And I think on a day like today, they could probably use all the help they can get. There are other gods here in the temple that you used to worship, but this is the main one. Mazu is worshipped widely in the southeast coastal areas of China and across Southeast Asia, where seafaring traditions are strong. The real-life Mazu, so the story goes, was a lady named Lin Monyang, who was born in the year 960 on Meizhou Island off the coast of Fujian province. Mazu is usually depicted together with two guardian generals, known as the Thousand Miles Eye and With the Wind Ear. They're said to have been two demons who Mazu subdued and turned into loyal guardians and friends. According to popular legend, Mazu was taught the mysteries of the Tao by a priest and subsequently began a lifetime of selfless charity, guiding ships into harbour and saving sailors from drowning. Mazu aside, this particular temple is multi-denominational, as other gods are worshipped here. Among them, the Dragon King and the God of Wealth. While safe in the knowledge that Mazu is looking over us, we decide to head on down to the harbour for some sailing lessons.